I know you feel stuck. And I know you've felt stuck for a long time. Long enough that the stuckness itself has become a weight. Long enough that just being stuck, day after day, is wearing you down in ways that have nothing to do with what you're stuck in and everything to do with how long you've been there. At first, being stuck was just frustrating. It was uncomfortable. It was something you were actively trying to get out of. You had energy for it. You had strategies. You had hope that if you just tried the right thing, made the right change, figured out the right approach, you'd get unstuck. But you've tried everything you can think of. You've made changes. You've done the work. You've been patient. You've pushed. You've rested. You've analyzed. You've let go. And you're still stuck. Still in the same place. Still unable to move forward no matter what you do. And somewhere along the way, the stuckness stopped being something you were trying to escape and became something you're just enduring. You stopped believing you could get out of it. You stopped having energy to fight it. You just started existing in it, day after day, while it slowly wore you down. Because that's what prolonged stuckness does. It wears you down. Not dramatically. Not in ways that other people notice. Just gradually, relentlessly, like water dripping on stone. Each day of being stuck takes something from you. Something small. But when you've had that small something taken from you every single day for months or years, the cumulative effect is massive. You're worn down. Not from the effort of trying to get unstuck anymore. From the sheer duration of being stuck. From the weight of existing in the same stuck place for longer than you ever thought you'd have to. From the slow erosion that comes from time passing without movement, without progress, without any change in your circumstances. And the wearing down is different from being tired. Being tired is something you can recover from with rest. Being worn down is something deeper. It's the slow diminishment of your capacity to cope, to hope, to believe that things can be different. It's the gradual erosion of your resilience until you're operating on reserves that are nearly empty and you don't know how much longer you can keep going. You wake up every day and you're still stuck. And that realization, that daily confrontation with the fact that nothing has changed, that you're still here, still in this place you desperately want to be out of, it takes energy. Not the energy of doing. The energy of bearing. Of carrying. Of continuing to exist in a state that feels unbearable but that you have to bear anyway because you don't have any other option. And people don't understand this kind of exhaustion. They see that you're functioning. They see that you're still showing up, still doing what needs to be done. So they think you're okay. They think you're handling it. They don't see that you're worn down to almost nothing. That you're barely holding on. That every day of continued stuckness takes you closer to some kind of breaking point you can't even define. Because you're not breaking in obvious ways. You're not falling apart. You're not having a crisis. You're just getting quieter. Flatter. More withdrawn. Less able to engage with anything beyond the bare minimum of what's required. Less able to access hope or optimism or the belief that any of this will ever be different. You're wearing down. And the wearing down is so gradual that you might not have even noticed it happening until you were already deeply worn. Until you looked around one day and realized you don't recognize yourself anymore. That the person you used to be, the person who had energy and hope and the capacity to handle difficulty, that person is gone. And in their place is someone who's just trying to survive the weight of being stuck for too long. And here's what makes the wearing down so insidious. You start to believe that this is just who you are now. That you've always been this tired, this flat, this unable to cope with normal demands. You forget that there was a version of you before the prolonged stuckness. A version who had capacity, who had resilience, who could handle difficulty without feeling like you're about to collapse under the weight of it. But that version existed. And the only reason that version doesn't exist anymore is because being stuck for this long has worn you down. Not because something is fundamentally wrong with you. Not because you're weak or broken or inadequate. But because prolonged stuckness wears people down. All people. No matter how strong they are. No matter how resilient they start out being. You can't stay stuck indefinitely without it costing you. And you've been paying that cost for so long now that your reserves are nearly empty. And you're still stuck. And the cost keeps accumulating. And you don't know how much longer you can sustain this. And the worst part is that the wearing down makes the stuckness harder to bear. Which makes the wearing down happen faster. Which makes the stuckness even harder to bear. You're caught in a cycle where being stuck wears you down, and being worn down makes being stuck feel more unbearable, which accelerates the wearing down. And you can't break the cycle by trying harder. Because trying harder when you're already worn down just depletes you faster. You can't break the cycle by being more patient. Because patience requires resources you don't have anymore. You can't break the cycle by staying positive. Because positivity in the face of prolonged stuckness with no end in sight isn't resilience, it's denial. The only thing that breaks the cycle is the stuckness ending. And you can't make that happen. You can't control when or how or if you'll get unstuck. So you're trapped in the wearing down, watching yourself diminish day by day, unable to stop it, unable to escape it, unable to do anything except endure it and hope that somehow you don't completely wear away before something finally shifts. And I wish I had something to offer you other than acknowledgement. I wish I could tell you how to stop the wearing down while you're still stuck. I wish I could give you a way to preserve your reserves, to maintain your resilience, to keep yourself from being completely eroded by the prolonged stuckness. But I can't. Because the wearing down isn't something you're doing wrong. It's not something you can fix with the right strategy or the right mindset or the right approach. It's what happens when anyone is stuck for too long. It's the natural consequence of prolonged immobility, prolonged frustration, prolonged inability to change circumstances that desperately need to change. You're wearing down because you've been stuck too long. And that's not your fault. That's not a failure. That's just what happens. So what can you do when you're being worn down by stuckness you can't escape? What's left when you're already depleted and the thing that's depleting you shows no sign of ending? The only thing you can do is acknowledge the wearing down. Stop pretending you're fine. Stop trying to maintain the appearance of having resources you don't have. Stop demanding from yourself what you don't have capacity to give. You're worn down. That's the truth. And functioning from that truth, however uncomfortable, is more sustainable than functioning from the pretense that you're okay. What does that look like practically? It looks like doing less. Not because you're lazy or giving up. But because you genuinely don't have the capacity to do more. It looks like lowering your expectations for yourself. Not permanently. Just for this phase of being stuck and worn down. It looks like being radically honest about what you actually have energy for versus what you think you should have energy for. It looks like saying no to things you can't handle. It looks like letting some things go undone. It looks like accepting that right now, making it through the day is all you have capacity for, and that has to be enough. Because the alternative is continuing to pretend you have resources you don't have, continuing to push yourself to do more than you have capacity for, and wearing down even faster until you hit some kind of wall you can't function past. You're already close to that wall. Maybe you're already against it. And the only way to not crash through it into complete collapse is to acknowledge how worn down you are and adjust accordingly. Not because that will make you feel better. Not because that will end the stuckness. But because it will stop you from making the wearing down worse than it already is. You can't control the stuckness. But you can stop accelerating your own erosion by demanding more from yourself than you actually have to give. So acknowledge it. You're worn down. You're depleted. You're barely holding on. And that's the truth. And operating from that truth means functioning at survival mode capacity and accepting that survival is all you can manage right now. Not thriving. Not progressing. Not even maintaining what you used to be able to maintain. Just surviving. Just making it through. Just continuing to exist even though existence in this stuck place feels like it's eroding you from the inside out. That's all that's required of you. Not more. Just that. Just survival. Just one more day of being here even though being here is wearing you down. And maybe the stuckness will end soon. Maybe something will shift. Maybe you'll get unstuck and have the chance to actually recover from the wearing down. But maybe it won't end soon. Maybe you'll be stuck longer. Maybe the wearing down will continue. And if that's true, if the stuckness continues and the wearing down continues, the only way to survive it is to stop pretending you're not worn down. To stop functioning as if you have capacity you don't have. To acknowledge the depletion and operate from the honest reality of it instead of from the pretense of being okay. That's how you survive the wearing down. Not by stopping it. Not by reversing it. But by acknowledging it and adjusting your expectations accordingly. You're worn down by being stuck too long. And that's not something you can fix while you're still stuck. But it is something you can stop making worse by being honest about it. So be honest. You're worn down. You're depleted. You barely have anything left. And that's the truth. And living from that truth is the only sustainable way forward. Not because it's good. Not because it's what you wanted. But because it's real. And reality, however difficult, is something you can work with. Pretense just adds more weight to a system that's already carrying too much. So acknowledge the wearing down. Honor the depletion. Accept that survival is all you have capacity for right now. And survive. Not well. Not gracefully. Not in any way that looks impressive or feels satisfying. Just survive. Just keep breathing. Just keep existing even though the stuckness is wearing you down and you don't know when it will end. That's all. That's enough. That's all there is when you're worn down by being stuck too long. Just existence. Just breath. Just making it through another day even though you don't know how many more days you can make it through. And that's bleak. And it's honest. And maybe honest bleakness is all you have access to right now. So be in it. In the wearing down. In the depletion. In the stuck place that won't release you. You don't have to be okay with it. You don't have to accept it as permanent. You don't have to stop wanting it to end. You just have to acknowledge that right now, this is where you are. Stuck. Worn down. Barely holding on. And that's the truth. And the truth, even when it's brutal, is something solid you can stand on. So stand on it. On the acknowledgement that you're worn down. On the honesty about your depletion. On the reality that survival is all you have capacity for. And breathe. And exist. And make it through. However worn. However depleted. However stuck. Just be here. Still breathing. Still existing. Still making it through even though the making it through is wearing you down. That's all there is. That's all that's left. And somehow, it has to be enough. Because it's all you have. And you're still here. And being here, however worn down, is something. Not much. But something. And right now, something is all you can manage. So manage it. The being here. The breathing. The existing while worn down. That's the work. That's all there is. And it's enough. Because you're still here. However diminished. However eroded. However worn. Still here. Still breathing. Still surviving the wearing down. And that's all that matters. That's all that's required. That's enough. You're enough. Even worn down. Even depleted. Even stuck. You're here. And being here is enough. So be here. Worn down. Stuck. Surviving. That's all. That's everything. That's enough.